Anatomy, types of muscle tissue. Skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and cardiac muscle are the three types of muscle tissues. They are not all the same and they have different functions and locations around the body. To start with, cardiac muscle is located in the walls and the chambers of the myocardium, which is known as the heart, and only appear in the endomysium layer. They have branched, striated fibers and are very small with only one nucleus. The intercalated discs in the cardiac muscle connect to other cells, allowing the fibers to work together in the endomysium layers. As you can see in this diagram, the small cylindrical discs connecting together. As the pacemaker releases the impulse, all the fibers will the impulse travels along this branched fibering structure. So all of the muscle goes from the impulse goes from the highest point where the pacemaker releases the impulse and moves down the myocardium. So every part of the myocardium really will get the impulse at the same time. The left and the right parts get the impulse at the same time as it travels down the myocardium. The smooth muscle tissue um, is makes up the tubing walls of vessels, such as blood vessels and stomach tubing. The fibers are smaller than skeletal muscle but are non-striated and are fusiform. They lack microfibrils, sarcomeres, or striations in the fiber, so it only has a smooth microscopic pattern found in the endomysium layers only. The smooth muscle only has one nuclei per muscle fiber cell. They are very small and only need one as they don't take up a lot of space, unlike the skeletal muscle, which is very, very long. Skeletal muscle is connected to bones around joints all around the skeletal system. They are very long and striated with cylindrical fibers, shown in the diagram. They are found in the endomysium, perimysium, and epimysium layers. Skeletal muscle is striated and can be very, very long. Therefore, multiple nuclei can be found in each muscle tissue cell. The longest ones will have up to 2-3 nuclei per cell, and the smaller ones can take up only one nuclei. Now, the cardiac muscle tissue is controlled by a pacemaker. This involuntary, consistent rhythmic impulse is able to work together, stretching and responding to higher need for oxygen, and can alter the impulse rate. When the body needs more oxygen, the rate of contraction will increase. Therefore, more blood will be pumped around the body. More oxygenated blood will reach the muscles that need the oxygen and can perform the task. They're controlled by the autonomic nervous system and the endocrine system. The cardiac pacemaker cells are known as sinoatrial nodes. They exhibit automatic contraction. Only 1% of the myocardium take up these cardiac pacemaker cells known as sinoatrial nodes. These establish the rate of contraction. The other 99% of cells in the myocardium are known as cardiac contractile cells. Aerobic metabolism is the burning of fats, sugars, and carbohydrates, and this energy allows the contractions in the myocardium to be established. And tenderness is known as a sustained contraction invoked by motor nerves. This is impossible in cardiac cells. This is because the body needs a rhythmic, constant rate of impulses so the heart can beat and pump blood around the body and to the heart, away from the heart at all times. Therefore, sustained contractions will not be helpful. It was controlled by the autonomic nervous system or the endocrine hormone system, which travels hormones through the blood. Smooth muscle tissues is an involuntary stretching of the muscle fiber, controlled by the autonomic nervous system and the endocrine system, which is a distribution of hormones within the body in blood. The skeletal muscle tissue um, inhibits voluntary contraction through the central nervous system, but it is also subject to subconscious regulation. Earlier mentioned, posture and stability is one of the functions of the muscular skeleton system. This subconscious regulation allows you to have this constant contraction without you having to consciously think about it. Therefore, you can keep the posture in your body. These skeletal muscles always need to be contracting in different ways, concentrically, eccentrically, so that you can maintain a structure and posture and stability in your body without the need for conscious thought of this to happen. Cardiac muscle tissue is slow and rhythmic contractions, but can increase or decrease when more or less oxygen is needed to be pumped around the body. For example, a long distance runner that maybe has a sprinting period right at the end of the race will need more oxygen as they need to complete more contractions at a higher rate right before then. However, a sprinter is completing a lot of very fast, powerful contractions in a shorter period of time. Smooth muscle tissue has very, very slow contractions. This is so the substances in the tubing that the tubing walls of the vessels contracting transport around the body. Smooth muscle tissue can transport blood around the body. This means that the contractions are slow, as they need to be taken to the muscles at a consistent rate. This means that the muscles will receive the blood, receive every substance, every mineral, every hormone, everything in the blood to the muscles, so they can effectively transfer using diffusion and other transport methods, so they can receive these substances within the blood. This is the same for the stomach tubing, as food, minerals, all these good things for your body in your stomach need to be taken there slowly, so whilst your body is moving, whilst other things in your body are going on, so that it doesn't interfere with anything else, and you can effectively transfer these substances to the desired location. The skeletal muscle is voluntary, therefore has fast, strong contractions. However, these are controllable, so it does mean you can also have slow and weaker contractions, less powerful contractions. The factors that determine this are depending on what muscle type. Fast glycolytic, fast oxidative glycolytic, slow oxidative muscle fibers. These depending on what one of these are contracting depends on the explosiveness, the speed, the rate of contraction around the body. Also, the rate of the impulse. So if a consistent impulse is going from to that muscle fiber, it will contract for a longer period of time. If not, then it will only contract for a shorter period of time and will probably be weaker. The fatigability of the cardiac muscle tissue is that it does not fatigue if oxygen is present. This means that it will never tire. This is the main difference of the cardiac muscle tissue to the smooth and skeletal muscle tissue, as a constant involuntary rhythmic impulse is needed from the pacemaker to the myocardium, so a consistent flow of blood can be pumped around the body at all times, as oxygen and all the minerals within the blood are needed around the body at all times. Smooth and skeletal muscle are different as they do fatigue over time. Smooth muscle tissue in the vessels will fatigue, and if too many stronger contractions happen in one period, they will need to stop and take a rest. This is the same for skeletal muscle, as after lots of fast and strong movements take place, it has to stop, take a rest, so it can complete that contraction at a high rate, high power level again. Innervation is the supply of nerves a stimulus and the supply of energy to the location through a constant rate. The smooth and cardiac muscle tissue receive this through the autonomic nervous system. However, the skeletal muscle goes through somatic nervous system using the alpha motor neurons. The mechanism of contraction for all three muscle fibers is the sliding filament mechanism, further described in much more detail later on in the presentation. The function of the cardiac muscle tissue is to push blood through the arteries of the circulatory system. This contraction allows the blood to flow. The smooth muscle tissue pushes fluids and solids along the digestive tract and hollow organs, for example, the blood vessels, and to perform varied functions in other systems. Skeletal muscle tissue has many functions. For example, the movement of skeleton, pull on tendons, and to move bones, maintains posture and body position, supporting soft tissues like the muscles of the wall of the abdominal muscles and the pelvic floor, which is the group of muscles at the abdominal cavity, the guarding of the entrances and exits in the form of sphincters, which are the holes in and out of the body, the entrances and exits, so substances can flow in and out, for example, your nose, your ears, your eyes, any other hole in your body. They also maintain the temperature of the body, and when contracting occurs, energy is used, and this is converted into heat energy as a byproduct, and this byproduct is used to maintain the body temperature.